The air was thick with smoke. Ash fell from the sky like gray snow. Buildings that once stood tall were now broken walls and black ruins. Fires burned quietly, their flames weak but dangerous. The ground was littered with shattered glass, twisted, metal, and pieces of lives that no longer existed. In the middle of all this destruction, a small alien child crouched beside the ruins of a home. Their skin glowed faintly blue in the fading light, and their eyes were wide, wet with tears. They were alone. Their voice shook as they whispered to the silence around them. "My mom died today." The words cracked as they left the child's lips, as if saying them made the truth heavier. The child clutched a small pendant in their hand. It was the only thing left from their mother. Every breath felt painful. Every sound of fire reminded them of screams that no longer came. Somewhere, in the distance, the ground rumbled. The child froze. Heavy machines moved through the ruins. Soldiers in dark armor hunted survivors. The child pressed closer to the ground, their small heart beating fast. The child's mind screamed, "I cannot be seen. If they find me, I will be gone too." A sudden crack of stone startled them. Someone was walking nearby. The child panicked and crawled deeper into the shadows. But the footsteps were not heavy like the soldiers. They were softer, slower, almost careful. Through the smoke, a figure appeared. A human. The child had heard of humans before. Stories told by their mother. Stories of strange beings who came from distant stars. Some aliens feared them. Some admired them. But this was the first time the child had seen one with their own eyes. The human was tall, rugged, and carried only a small pack. His clothes were dirty, torn from travel. He looked around carefully, as if searching for something, or someone. His eyes were sharp, but when they landed on the child, they softened. The child stepped back, afraid. "Don't hurt me." Their voice trembled. The human raised his hand slowly, showing he carried no weapon in that moment. His voice was calm, steady, filled with something the child had not felt all day: safety. "I won't hurt you," the human said. For a moment, silence hung between them. Smoke curled around broken walls. The distant hum of machines echoed. The child swallowed hard and spoke again, voice broken and raw. "My mom died today. Can I spend the day with you, human?" The words surprised even the child. They did not know why they asked. Maybe it was hope. Maybe it was desperation. Maybe it was the way the human's eyes looked. Not cruel, not greedy, just human. The human looked at the small alien for a long moment. His jaw tightened, his face showing the weight of his own memories. Then he gave a slow nod. "Okay," he said gently, "but stay close." The child's heart ached with both fear and relief. Someone had answered. Someone had not turned away. The human moved forward and crouched beside the child, checking the surroundings. He whispered, "It's not safe here. They are still hunting. We must keep moving." The child looked around nervously. The thought of leaving the ruins felt terrifying, but staying felt worse. The child gave a small nod and clutched the pendant tighter. Together they moved through the broken streets. Every step echoed. The wind carried the smell of burning stone and melted steel. Strange shadows moved in the distance, and the hum of machines grew louder. The child kept their eyes on the human's back, never letting the space grow too wide. Fear whispered that if they lost him, they would be lost forever. The human suddenly raised a hand, signaling silence. He crouched low behind a collapsed wall. The child copied him, heart racing. Through the cracks in the wall, they saw them. Dark, armored soldiers, their glowing red visors scanning the ruins. The soldiers moved in groups, carrying strange weapons. Their voices were sharp, mechanical, without mercy. The child's breath caught. The soldiers were close. Too close. The human looked back at the child, pressing a finger to his lips. Quiet, not a sound. The child held their breath, shaking. The soldiers' footsteps grew louder, echoing against stone. One of them stopped, scanning the area where the human and child hid. Seconds felt like hours. The child's lungs burned. If they breathed, even softly, it might be enough to bring death. Finally, the soldiers moved on, their heavy steps fading into the distance. The human exhaled slowly, steadying his breath. The child trembled, fighting tears. The human leaned closer and whispered, "You're safe. For now." The child nodded, but their heart still pounded. Safe, but only because of him. They continued through the ruins, two strangers bound by survival. One child, lost and broken. One human, carrying his own secrets. Both stepping into a dangerous path that neither could walk alone. Above them, the sky glowed red with fire and smoke. The world was burning. But in the middle of that darkness, a fragile bond had been born. And somewhere in the shadows, unseen eyes were watching. The night grew, colder as the human and the alien child moved deeper into the ruins. Broken towers leaned like giants ready to fall, and the streets were empty but filled with echoes of past screams. Smoke still lingered, twisting in the air, making it hard to breathe. The child walked close behind the human, afraid to let even one step of distance come between them. Every sound in the distance made the child jump. The hum of machines, the crack of falling stone, even the cry of a bird sounded like danger. The human kept his eyes sharp, scanning every shadow. His hand rested on a worn weapon strapped to his side. He moved with quiet steps, but every so often he looked back at the child to make sure they were still there. The child's voice finally broke the silence. "Why are you helping me?" The human slowed. His face was unreadable in the dim light. For a moment he did not answer. Then he said quietly, "Because someone once helped me when I had no one." The child looked at him, confused but curious. They wanted to ask more, but the human raised a hand. Silence. Voices echoed nearby. The child's heart jumped. Soldiers. Again. Their heavy boots struck the ground like thunder. The human quickly pulled the child into the remains of a collapsed building. They crouched behind stone, hearts racing. The soldiers' red visors scanned the area, glowing in the dark. One of them muttered in a harsh, mechanical voice, "Find the survivors. None must escape." The child bit their lip, tears threatening to fall. They whispered, almost too soft to hear, "They killed my mom." The human pressed a finger to his lips. "Not a sound," he whispered. Minutes stretched like hours. The soldiers searched, moving closer. One of them stopped just meters away, shining a beam of light across the rubble. The child's hand shook. If they moved even a little, they would be seen. The human reached out and gently covered the child's hand with his own. His grip was steady, strong, silent. It said what words could not. "I am here. You are not alone." Finally, the soldiers moved on, their voices fading into the night. Silence returned, heavy and tense. The human stood first, scanning the area. Then, he offered his hand to the child. For a moment, the child hesitated. Trusting someone was hard, but finally, they placed their small hand in his. "Come," the human said softly. "We can't stay here." They moved again through the ruins until they found a small corner hidden by broken walls. The human set down his pack and started, a tiny fire just enough to warm them, not enough to be seen. The child sat quietly, staring into the flames. The warmth felt strange after the cold fear of the day. Their voice trembled as they spoke. "I don't even know your name." The human looked at the fire for a long moment. "Elias," he finally said. "My name is Elias." The child whispered back, "My name is Lyra." Silence settled again, but this time it was softer. The fire cracked gently. The shadows danced. On the walls, Lyra finally spoke, her words spilling like a broken dam. "They came from the sky. They burned our homes. My mom told me to run, but I didn't want to leave her. She pushed me away. She stayed behind, and then she was gone." Tears rolled down her cheeks. Elias listened. His eyes darkened, but he did not interrupt. When Lyra's sobs quieted, he spoke, his voice low and heavy. When I lost someone too, long ago. That's why I know your pain. Lyra looked at him with wide, teary eyes. Did it ever stop hurting? Elias stared into the fire. No. But you learn to carry it. And sometimes you find someone who helps. You carry it. He glanced at her. Maybe that's what we're doing now. For the first time since her world burned, Lyra felt something small but powerful. Hope. The fire's warmth wrapped around them, but danger still lurked. Strange sounds echoed in the distance. Elias's eyes narrowed. Something was moving. Watching. He quickly put out the fire. Darkness swallowed them again. We're not alone, he whispered. Lyra's heart jumped. She clutched her pendant, trembling. The soldiers? Maybe, Elias answered. Or something worse. They crouched in silence, listening. The wind carried faint whispers of movement, too soft to be machines. It felt alive. Hunting. Elias drew his weapon slowly. He looked at Lyra. Stay behind me, no matter what. Her eyes widened, but she nodded. The sound grew louder. A shadow slipped between ruined walls. Red eyes flashed in the dark. Elias gritted his teeth. He had protected the child once today. He would do it again. And so the fragile trust between human and alien grew stronger, forged in fear and fire. But trust alone would not be enough for what was coming next. The ruins were silent. But the silence was wrong. It was not the quiet of peace. It was the quiet of something waiting. Elias crouched low, his weapon steady, eyes locked on the darkness ahead. Lyra stayed behind him, clutching her pendant so tightly her small hands hurt. Her breathing was fast, too loud. She tried to hold it back, but fear made it shake. Stay low, Elias whispered. His voice was calm, but his eyes were sharp. From the shadows the sound came again. A scrape. A growl. Something alive. Lyra's heart pounded. Is it the soldiers? She whispered. Elias shook his head slowly. No, worse. The glow of red eyes appeared in the dark, low to the ground, moving slowly like a predator. Then another pair of eyes appeared beside it. Then another. 3 pairs. They stalked forward, silent except for the soft scrape of claws against stone. Lyra pressed herself against the wall. What are they? Hunters, Elias muttered. His voice dropped to a growl. Scavengers. They feed on fear, blood, anything they can catch. The creatures stepped into the dim moonlight filtering through the broken towers. Their bodies were lean and twisted, with long arms that ended in claws sharp as blades. Their mouths were filled, with jagged teeth dripping with black saliva. Lyra's small voice trembled. They smell me. Elias kept his weapon raised. Then don't move. Don't give them a reason. But it was too late. One of the hunters let out a chilling screech, a sound that cut through the night like broken metal. The others followed, their cries echoing through the ruins. Elias fired. The shot cracked loud and bright, striking the first creature. It staggered but did not fall. The others rushed forward, claws flashing. Run! Elias barked, pushing Lyra. Behind him, they dashed through the rubble, stones slipping under their feet. The hunters leapt across walls, their claws scratching against broken metal as they closed in. Lyra stumbled, nearly falling, but Elias grabbed her arm and pulled her forward. His weapon fired again, sparks lighting the dark. One creature fell, screaming, but 2 remained. The path split ahead. Elias dragged Lyra into a collapsed tunnel, the walls narrow and sharp. The hunters followed, their screeches echoing through the stone. The tunnel was tight, forcing Elias to slow. He turned, firing again. The bullet struck the second creature in the chest. It roared but kept coming. Lyra cried out, "They won't stop." Elias's voice was firm. "They will, trust me." The tunnel opened suddenly into a wide chamber, filled with broken machinery. Old alien engines lay scattered, glowing faintly with dying energy. Elias shoved Lyra behind one of the machines. "Stay hidden," he ordered. She shook her head. "But do it." His tone was sharp, leaving no room for argument. Lyra ducked low, hiding behind the cold metal. Her small body shook, her heart racing. Through a crack, she watched Elias stand tall, weapon ready, facing the hunters alone. The two creatures circled him, growling, their red eyes glowing brighter. One lunged. Elias rolled aside, firing into its side. Black blood splattered the ground. The creature screamed and crashed into the floor, twitching. The last hunter roared, leaping at him with claws wide. Elias fired again, but the gun clicked empty. "No," Lyra gasped. The hunter slammed into Elias, knocking him hard against the wall. His weapon clattered to the ground. The creature's claws tore across his arm, blood flashing in the dim light. Elias gritted his teeth, wrestling against the beast's strength. For a moment it seemed over. The hunter's jaws opened wide, ready to bite into his neck. Then a sound cut through the chaos. A cry. Lyra had stepped out from hiding, her eyes wide with terror but her voice strong. "Leave him," she screamed. The creature hesitated, turning its glowing eyes toward her. Elias used the moment. With all his strength, he grabbed a piece of broken metal from the ground and drove it into the creature's throat. The beast let out a strangled screech and collapsed, twitching before going still. Silence returned, broken only by Elias's heavy breathing. Lyra ran to him, tears streaming down her face. "You're hurt." Elias pressed a hand against his bleeding arm but gave a small, tired smile. "I've been hurt before." He looked at her with steady eyes. "Are you okay?" She nodded shakily. I thought you were going to leave me too." Elias rested a hand gently on her shoulder. His voice was quiet but strong. "I told you, I'll protect you." Lyra's chest tightened. She believed him. For the first time since her world burned, she truly believed she was not alone. But as Elias looked back at the dead hunters, his jaw tightened. He knew more would come. Noise always drew more. He picked up his weapon, reloading it with the last of his ammunition. He glanced at Lyra. "We can't stay here. Others will follow." She nodded, wiping her tears. Her small hands still shook, but now they also held courage. Together they stepped back into the ruins, leaving behind the bodies of the hunters. The night was far from over, and high above them, unseen in the dark sky, a ship moved silently, watching. The ruins were quiet again, but the silence was heavy. Elias and Lyra moved through the broken streets until the night swallowed the last light of the fires. The stars shone weakly through smoke, but even the stars seemed sad. Elias stopped when he found a place that looked safe. A half-collapsed shelter. Its roof cracked but still standing, its walls strong enough to hide them. He guided Lyra inside. The air smelled of dust and burned metal, but at least it was away from open ground. "Rest here," Elias said softly. Lyra sat down on the cold stone floor, her small body shivering. Her eyes stayed on Elias, watching every move he made. She still didn't fully understand him. He was human, different, strange, but he had fought for her, bled for her. That was something no one else had done since her mother. Elias started a small fire, shielding the light with broken metal so it wouldn't be seen from outside. The fire glowed faintly, painting the walls with shadows. For a long time, neither spoke. The crackle of the fire was the only sound. Finally, Lyra whispered, her voice shaking, "They killed my family." Elias looked at her but said nothing. He let her speak. "They came with ships," she continued, eyes filling with tears. "They burned our homes. They took people away. My mom, she told me to run. She said she would find me later, but she never came." Lyra's voice broke. "She pushed me away so I could live, but I didn't want to leave her." The firelight shimmered in her tears. She covered her face with her small hands, sobbing softly. Elias sat in silence, his eyes dark, his jaw tight. He knew the weight of that kind of loss. He had carried it for years. After a moment he spoke, his voice low and heavy. I had a family once too. Lyra looked up, surprised. A wife, a daughter. Elias's eyes fixed on the fire. They were killed in the war, not by hunters, not by soldiers like the ones chasing us, but by people who thought humans like me didn't deserve to live. I wasn't there to protect them. I was too far away. When I returned, it was too late. Lyra's lips trembled. I'm sorry. Elias shook his head slowly. Don't be. I carry them with me always. The pain never goes away. But I learned something. If you carry the pain alone, it destroys you. If you share it, even a little, it becomes lighter. Lyra stared at him, her small chest rising and falling quickly. She whispered, That's why you stayed with me? Elias looked at her for a long time. Yes, because no one should face the night alone. The fire crackled, and for a moment the shelter felt less empty. Lyra leaned closer, resting her head against Elias's arm. Her body shook less now. His presence was strong, steady, like a shield. But outside the night was not calm. A faint scratching sound echoed through the ruins. Elias tensed. His hand went to his weapon. Lyra lifted her head, fear in her wide eyes. What is it? She whispered. Elias tilted his head, listening. The sound was not claws this time. It was softer, lighter. Someone walking, watching. He stood slowly, signaling Lyra to stay behind him. The firelight made his shadow long against the wall as he moved toward the entrance. Stay here, he told her. Lyra's heart raced. She didn't want to be left alone. Elias, stay, he repeated firmly. He stepped into the night, scanning the ruins with sharp eyes. The stars gave little light, but his ears caught faint movement. A figure darted between walls, quick and silent. Elias raised his weapon. Show yourself. Silence. Then from the shadows a laugh, low, cold, mocking. You hide well, human, the voice said, but not well enough. Lyra's eyes widened. She pressed her hands over her mouth to stop a cry. The figure stepped into the weak starlight. It was not a soldier in armor. It was something else. Tall, thin, wrapped in black cloth, its face hidden by a mask with glowing slits for eyes. In its hands it carried a long blade that shimmered, faintly with energy. Elias's eyes narrowed. He recognized the type, hunters of another kind. Not beasts, but assassins, silent killers. The figure tilted its head. The child is valuable. Hand her over and I might let you live. Elias tightened his grip on his weapon. His voice was calm but sharp. You'll have to kill me first. The assassin's masked face seemed to smile. That can be arranged. The two circled each. The night filled with tension. Inside the shelter, Lyra trembled. Her pendant glowed faintly in her hands. She whispered to herself, Don't die. Please don't die. The fire flickered. The shadows grew long, and outside blades and bullets were about to decide their fate. The night cracked with sudden violence. The assassin struck first, blade flashing like lightning. Elias dodged, the energy blade slicing the air where his chest had been a second earlier. Sparks lit the ruins as the weapon struck stone. Lyra gasped from inside the shelter, her small body pressed against the wall. She wanted to scream, but her throat locked in fear. Elias fired his weapon, the shot echoing loud in the silent ruins. The assassin moved like a shadow, twisting aside. The bullet scraped the mask, leaving a glowing scar across its surface. You fight well, the assassin hissed, but you cannot win. Elias didn't answer. His focus stayed sharp, his step steady. He circled, keeping the assassin away from the shelter, away from Lyra. The assassin lunged again, blade sweeping low. Elias blocked with a broken metal pipe he grabbed from the ground. The clash sent shocks through his arm. He gritted his teeth, pushing back. Run, Lyra, Elias shouted. Lyra froze. Her body screamed to move, but her legs refused. I, I can't. Now. His voice was fierce, filled with command. The assassin's blade sliced through the pipe, sparks flying. Elias stumbled back, barely avoiding death. The assassin advanced, eyes glowing brighter. Lyra finally bolted, dashing from the shelter. Tears streaked her face as she ran through the rubble. Elias backed toward her, fighting with every ounce of strength. The assassin saw the child, flee and laughed, cold and cruel. She cannot escape. Elias fired again, forcing the assassin to duck. You'll never touch her. He turned and ran, catching up to Lyra. His hand gripped her small arm as they sprinted into the ruins together. The assassin followed, fast and relentless. His blade cut through walls and debris like paper. Every step echoed like thunder in the night. Faster, Elias urged. His injured arm throbbed, blood soaking his sleeve. But he didn't slow. They ran through broken alleys, leaping over shattered stone. Behind them, the assassin's footsteps grew louder, closer. Lyra's chest burned with every breath. I can't. Keep running, she gasped. Yes, you can, Elias growled. You have to. The ruins opened into an old transport tunnel, half collapsed, filled with dust and broken machines. Elias pulled Lyra inside. The darkness swallowed them. Hide, he ordered, pushing her behind a pile of wreckage. The assassin's voice echoed through the tunnel. You can't run forever, the child belongs to us. Lyra's heart stopped. Belongs to us. The words chilled her more than the night. Elias crouched low, weapon ready. His breathing was rough, his wound slowing him. He knew he couldn't outrun this fight forever. The assassin's glowing eyes appeared in the tunnel. Step by step, he moved forward. Blade raised, Elias fired. The shot sparked against the assassin's armor but didn't stop him. The tunnel lit up with flashes of light and metal. Lyra covered her ears, trembling. She wanted to be brave, but fear crushed her. The assassin lunged again. Elias rolled aside, firing point blank. The bullet struck deep into the assassin's side. The masked figure staggered, growling in pain, but still didn't fall. You can't kill me, the assassin hissed. But I can kill you. Elias gritted, his teeth sweat and blood dripping down his face. He raised his weapon again, but the clip was empty. Click. No more bullets. The assassin smiled beneath the mask. End of the road. Elias grabbed a broken chain from the ground, wrapping it around his fist. He stood tall, placing himself between the assassin and Lyra. If this is the end, he said coldly, then I'll make sure you go with me. The assassin lunged, fast, deadly. At that moment, the tunnel shook. A loud roar echoed, not from the assassin, not from Elias. Something deeper. The ground trembled. Dust fell from the ceiling. From the shadows of the tunnel, a new sound emerged, metal grinding, engines powering. Lyra's eyes widened. Something's coming. The assassin paused, tilting his head. For the first time, his steps slowed. Elias tightened his grip on the chain, eyes fixed on the dark ahead. The roar grew louder, closer, shaking the tunnel walls. Out of the darkness, lights flared, huge, blinding. Something massive moved in the tunnel, not soldiers, not hunters, a machine. A war machine left behind, half alive, its systems waking after years of silence. Its red sensors locked on the first moving target it saw, the assassin. The assassin hissed and leapt back, but the machine fired, beams of energy blasting through the tunnel. The assassin barely dodged, his mask glowing with fury. Elias grabbed Lyra, pulling her deeper into cover. The assassin shouted, voice filled with rage. This isn't over, human, the child will be mine. With a flash, he vanished into the shadows, retreating. The machine roared again, searching, its sensors scanning. Elias held Lyra close, whispering, Stay still. Don't move. The tunnel filled with red light as the machine searched for threats. Its engines hummed like thunder. Lyra's small hands gripped Elias's sleeve. Will it find us? Elias didn't answer. His eyes stayed locked on the machine. The assassin was gone, but now, something even worse had awakened. The tunnel was alive with red light. The ancient war machine's sensors swept across the walls, painting the ruins in shadows. Its heavy footsteps shook the ground, each one echoing like thunder in Lyra's ears. Elias crouched low behind a broken slab of stone, his arm pressed tight against his wound. Blood soaked through his sleeve, warm and steady. His face was pale, his breathing rough. Lyra clung to him, her small fingers gripping his jacket. "You're hurt," she whispered, her voice breaking. Elias forced a small, grim smile. "I've been worse." But Lyra could see the truth. His hand trembled. His strength was fading. The machine's red beam scanned closer. Dust fell from the ceiling as its cannons hummed, powering for another shot. Elias pulled Lyra down lower, shielding her with his body. "We can't stay here," he whispered. "It'll find us." Lyra's eyes filled with tears. "You can't even walk right now. You're bleeding too much." Elias looked at her, his gaze steady even through the pain. "Lyra, listen to me. You have to stay quiet, no matter what. If I tell you to run, you run. Don't look back." Her head shook fiercely. "No, don't say that. You'll leave me just like my mom." The words hit him harder than any blade. For a moment, he saw his own daughter's face in hers. The memory stabbed deep, but it also gave him strength. He touched her shoulder gently, his voice softer now. "I'm not your mother. But I made you a promise. I told you I'd protect you, and I will. I'll never leave you." Lyra's lip quivered. "Promise?" Elias gave a small nod. "Promise." The machine roared again, its sensors locking onto movement deeper in the tunnel. A beam fired, striking a collapsed wall and blasting it apart. The tunnel shook, debris raining down. Elias pushed Lyra behind a pile of wreckage. "Stay here. Don't move until I call you." She grabbed his sleeve desperately. "No, if you go out there, you'll die." Elias leaned closer, his eyes burning, with determination. "Then I'll die fighting to keep you alive, that's what matters." The machine's heavy steps grew closer. Its metal body scraped the tunnel walls, sparks flying as it advanced. Elias stood, swaying slightly from blood loss. He lifted his weapon, nearly empty, and steadied his breath. Each step he took away from Lyra felt heavier, but he didn't stop. "Elias." Lyra's voice cracked, too soft for anyone but him to hear. He looked back at her one last time. His face was tired, but his eyes held fire. "Stay alive, Lyra. That's all I ask." The machine's red eyes locked onto him. With a roar of engines, it charged. Elias fired, bullets sparking against its armored chest. They didn't pierce, but they slowed it. The machine's cannons aimed, glowing brighter. Lyra's breath caught. She couldn't just hide. She couldn't just watch him fall. Her hands trembled, clutching the pendant her mother gave her. The stone in its center glowed faintly, brighter than ever before. She whispered to herself, "Please, help him." The machine fired. A beam of energy streaked toward Elias. At that same instant, the pendant's glow spread across the tunnel like a shield. The beam struck the light and split, shattering harmlessly into the walls. Elias froze, eyes wide. He turned to see Lyra standing, her pendant glowing in her hands. The small alien child, so fragile, now shone with power she didn't understand. The machine roared, its sensors confused. It adjusted, charging its weapons again. Elias shouted, "Lyra, stay back!" But Lyra didn't listen. She stepped forward, the glow wrapping around her like armor. Tears streamed down her face, but her eyes burned with courage. "You promised to protect me, Elias. Now let me protect you too." The machine fired again. The light from Lyra's pendant flared brighter, stronger, shielding them both. The tunnel shook as energy clashed with light. Elias staggered, gripping his weapon tightly. His body screamed with pain, but his heart surged with something stronger, hope. The war wasn't over. The night wasn't safe. But in that moment he knew he wasn't fighting alone anymore. The tunnel shook like thunder. The ancient war machine roared, its red sensors glowing hot with rage. Energy beams fired again and again, each blast shaking stone and sending dust raining down. But the beams did not touch Elias or Lyra. The glow of Lyra's pendant shielded them, a wall of light standing strong against the storm. Lyra's small hands trembled as she held it up. Her face was wet with tears, but her eyes were fierce. "I can do this," she whispered to herself. "I must." Elias staggered beside her, wounded, his arm heavy with blood. He looked at her glowing form with shock and pride. "Lyra, you don't even know what that thing is." "I don't have to," she said. "It wants to kill us, and I won't let it take you too." The machine roared louder, adjusting its cannons. It fired a stronger beam, tearing the tunnel apart. The shield cracked under the force, light splintering. Lyra cried out, almost dropping the pendant. Elias stepped forward, putting his hand over hers, steadying it. His voice was firm but gentle. "You're not alone. We'll do this together." The pendant flared brighter, as if answering his words. Then, machine advanced, metal feet crushing stone, weapons glowing. Elias and Lyra stood side by side, human and alien, two broken souls holding the line. "Now!" Elias shouted. The pendant's light surged forward, a wave of energy exploding across the tunnel. The machine fired at the same time, its cannon, unleashing a storm. Light and fire collided in a blast that shook the ruins. The explosion threw them both back. Elias hit the ground hard, his vision spinning. Lyra fell beside him, the pendant dimming in her hands. The machine staggered, its armor cracked, sparks spilling from its chest. It wasn't destroyed. Not yet. The machine raised its cannon again, preparing the final strike. Elias pushed himself up, every bone in his body screaming. He had one last bullet left. Just one. He loaded it slowly, his bloody fingers shaking. He looked at Lyra, her eyes barely open, still clutching the pendant. She whispered weakly, "Don't leave me." Elias's heart clenched. He remembered his wife, his daughter, the family he couldn't save. He had failed them once. He would not fail this child. He crouched beside her, pulling her close with his good arm. His voice was steady, full of fire. "I promised, Lyra, I'll never leave you." The machine roared and fired. Elias raised his weapon and fired too. The bullet, small and simple, struck the cracked spot in the machine's chest at the exact moment Lyra's pendant flared one last time. The light and the bullet combined, exploding in a blinding flash. The machine screamed, a horrible metallic howl, as its chest split open. Fire burst from within. Its sensors flickered, dimmed, and then went dark. With a final shudder, the giant collapsed, shaking the tunnel as it died. Silence fell. Elias collapsed to his knees, holding Lyra tightly. She was breathing, weak but alive. The pendant in her hand flickered once, then went dark, its power spent. She looked up at him with tired eyes. We did it?" Elias gave a small, tired smile. "We did." She leaned against him, her voice soft. "Then, you're my family now." The words pierced his heart like nothing else. He held her tighter, tears burning his eyes. For years, he had carried his pain alone. But now, in this broken world, he had found someone new to protect. Someone who gave him a reason to keep living. "You're not alone anymore, Lyra," he whispered. "Not ever again." The tunnel lay in ruins. Smoke drifted through cracks in the ceiling, revealing the stars above. The night was still dangerous, the enemy still out there, but for now, they had survived. Elias stood slowly, lifting Lyra into his arms despite his wounds. He walked out of the tunnel step by painful step, carrying both her and his promise into the night. Behind them, the machine's remains sparked and burned, but it would never rise again. The child who had lost her mother and the man who had lost his family had chosen each other, and sometimes one choice was enough to change everything.